If solid ideas were refined instead of replaced, motorcycles would be further ahead than they are today. In the 1960s, when engineering was moving fast, manufacturers built machines with straightforward design, dependable motors, and honest performance. And here's the thing, many of those bikes are still running today, proving that real durability outlasts passing trends. Today we're looking at 15 motorcycles from the 1960s that still outshine modern bikes, not for flashy numbers, but for what matters the most. So settle in. This isn't just a look back at history, it's a reminder of why the best bikes stand the test of time. Claiming the spotlight at number 15, Yamaha YDS2. Here's the truth. The Yamaha YDS2 wasn't just a cool little twin from the 60s, it was a shot across the bow that still puts pressure on modern lightweights today. This was Yamaha's first real world-class sport bike, and it came loaded, a two-stroke, 246 cubic centimeter parallel twin, making about 23 horsepower, with a screaming 7,000 RPM redline. It was light, barely 345 pounds, yet sturdy, with cast iron barrels and a crank that could take a beating. Open it up on a back road and you were staring down 90 miles per hour, which is still plenty quick for any small bore machine today. But it wasn't just speed. Yamaha gave the YDS2 a twin leading shoe front brake, solid handling and durability that made it just as happy commuting as it was racing. These days, clean survivors run 5 to 10 grand, a bargain compared to plastic-clad 250s that feel lifeless by comparison. The YDS2 proved a lightweight could punch far above its class, but not every rider wanted a featherweight screamer. Plenty were chasing long-haul comfort and highway authority, and that's where a full-dress heavyweight from Milwaukee took the spotlight. A touring icon that redefined what American motorcycling was supposed to. Powering through at number 14, Harley-Davidson Electra Glide. If the Yamaha YDS2 was a scalpel, the Harley-Davidson Electra Glide was a sledgehammer, and it hit the touring world like no bike before it. 1965 was the swan song of the legendary Panhead, a 1,207 cubic centimeter V-twin that pumped out around 60 horsepower through a 4-speed box. Built heavy, built tough, and built to cross states without flinching. This Harley wasn't about quarter-mile bragging rights. It was about eating miles with comfort and confidence, something plenty of modern bikes still struggle to deliver. What made this Electra Glide revolutionary was its usability. It was the first big Harley to ditch the kick lever for an electric starter, and the first to run a 12-volt system. That meant easier starts, brighter lights, and less hassle on the road. Add in a 5-gallon turnpike tank, full suspension, and that iconic long-legged stance, and you had a true American highway king. Today, survivors bring anywhere from 12 to 30 plus grand, depending on condition, with pristine examples climbing even higher. Pricey? Sure, but you're buying a slice of history that no modern cruiser can fake. The Electra Glide proved Harley could own the open highway with muscle and comfort. But not every rider wanted an American heavyweight. Some were looking overseas for a more refined twin with British manners, and that's when Kawasaki rolled out their answer. A machine that borrowed old world style but carried Japan's promise of something bigger. Holding strong at number 13, Kawasaki W1. The 1966 Kawasaki W1 marked Japan's bold entrance into the big bore motorcycle world. Born from Kawasaki's partnership with Meguro, it borrowed inspiration from the British BSA twins, but quickly proved itself with sturdier engineering and smoother road manners. At its heart sat a 624 cubic centimeter parallel twin, good for about 50 horsepower and capable of pushing past 115 miles per hour, serious speed for its day. What set the W1 apart wasn't only its numbers, but its character. The short-stroke motor with roller-bearing crank allowed it to rev higher and last longer than the machines it resembled. Riders praised its steady pull and durability, making it both practical for daily miles and spirited enough for backroad runs. Visually, it wore the look of the ERA's finest British iron: wire wheels, a chrome-trimmed teardrop tank, and a handsome instrument cluster. But behind that style was Japanese precision that solved many of the reliability gripes riders had with British machines. Today, surviving W1s are prized collectibles, often commanding $8,000 to $10,000 in the US. For enthusiasts, it represents more than nostalgia. It's a milestone that blended heritage with innovation, and it still rides circles around many modern middleweights. If these legends put a grin on your face, hit like, subscribe, and ride with us as we keep the spirit of real motorcycles alive. And while Kawasaki was flexing with size and speed, over in Italy, a very different kind of machine was stealing hearts. This one wasn't about muscle, it was about agility, precision, and a certain flair that only Ducati could deliver. And that's where their lightweight racer rolled in, quick, sharp, and unforgettable. A bike that showed the world you didn't need big cubes to make a legend. Sliding into number 12, Ducati Mach 1250. The 1965 Ducati Mach 1250 is proof that displacement alone doesn't define greatness. This Italian single was born with racing blood in its veins, carrying a bevel-driven overhead cam, 5-speed gearbox, and a 10-to-1 compression ratio that pushed a quarter-liter engine to an incredible 100 miles per hour. For its size, nothing on the road at the time could match it. The Mach 1 wasn't just quick, it was precise. Its featherweight frame and sharp handling made it feel like a race bike with license plates. Dressed in Ducati red with a slim tank and purposeful stance, it looked every bit as fast as it rode. History sealed its reputation when it carried Ducati to an Isle of Man TT win in 1969. Produced in limited numbers, surviving examples now command $10,000 to $20,000, with pristine restorations climbing even higher. A true racer's road bike, the Mach 1 remains one of Ducati's purest icons. But not every rider in the 60s was chasing lap times or Isle of Man glory. Some wanted a motorcycle that was civil, dependable, and modern in a way the old guard had never delivered. And that's where Honda stepped forward with a machine as stylish as it was approachable. A bike that turned thousands of everyday people into riders and left an imprint that still echoes through motorcycling today. Locking down the spot at number 11, Honda Dream 305. The Honda Dream 305 may not roar the loudest, but it reshaped what motorcycling could be. At a time when reliability was a gamble, Honda built a machine that blended durability, style, and everyday usability into one elegant package. Its 305cc twin delivered a smooth 23 horsepower and could carry riders to nearly 90 miles per hour. A pressed steel frame with leading link forks gave it a sturdy, almost futuristic look compared to tubular-framed rivals. Add in the electric starter, rare in its day, and you had a motorcycle that felt years ahead of the competition. Back then, it sold for around $600. Today, well-preserved examples trade hands between $3,000 and $4,000, making it one of the most attainable classics of the decade. The Dream 305 didn't need brute force to make history. It proved that elegance, reliability, and forward-thinking engineering could win riders over just as powerfully as speed. But while Honda was redefining everyday motorcycling, across the Atlantic, the British industry was in a fight for survival. Japanese performance was rising fast, and England's proudest names had to answer with something bold, something loud, and something unmistakably theirs. That's when two rivals under the same roof rolled out a triple-cylinder thunderstorm, a pair of machines built to prove Britain still had teeth, and they weren't going quietly. Blazing ahead at number 10, BSA Rocket 3, Triumph Trident. The BSA Rocket 3 and Triumph Trident arrived in 1968 as Britain's bold response to the looming superbike wars. Both machines shared a 740cc triple that produced 58 horsepower and pushed top speeds past 115 miles per hour. Figures that stunned riders of the day and still impress today. Yet even those numbers would be overshadowed by the bike at number 1, which stretched horsepower into the high 60s and carried speed well past 120. But make no mistake, what set these British triples apart wasn't just raw numbers. Unlike the twins that had dominated British roads, they delivered smoother thrust and far more torque. Their one-piece forged crankshaft added durability, while the triple-cylinder layout gave them a growl unmatched by rivals. On the track, They proved their worth at the Isle of Man TT, cementing their reputation as true high-performance machines. The Rocket 3 was aimed squarely at American riders and quickly earned recognition as one of the fastest street tours of the ERA. Today, collectors prize these bikes, with values climbing from $8,000 to $20,000 depending on condition. More than artifacts, they represent the moment Britain stepped into the superbike age, and did so with thunder. But while the Brits chased speed with triples, riders in Germany were after something else entirely: smooth touring, precise engineering, and machines built to last a lifetime. That's where BMW answered with a boxer twin that became a legend of its own, a motorcycle that made endurance its calling card. Charging up to number 9, BMW R69S. The BMW R69S, built from 1960 through 1969, is a precision masterpiece that continues to humble many modern motorcycles. Powered by a 594cc boxer twin, producing 42 horsepower, it could cruise past 110 miles per hour while delivering remarkable refinement. Nicknamed the Whispering Death, it earned its reputation through quiet strength and unmatched reliability. A forged steel crankshaft, gear-driven camshaft, and rugged boxer layout made it nearly indestructible, while the hydraulic steering damper and Earl's Forks provided stability other bikes could only dream of. Riders praised its comfort, efficiency, and ability to devour miles with ease. Priced around $1,550 new, well-kept examples now command $15,000 to $50,000. By the late 60s, BMW's R69S defined the refined side of motorcycling, but the world was changing fast, and new emissions rules and growing highways demanded fresh solutions. Moto Guzzi's response? A landmark motorcycle that rewrote the rules and put Italy on the world stage. Coming in hot at number 8, Moto Guzzi V7. The 1967 Moto Guzzi V7 stands as Italy's answer to lasting motorcycle greatness, a machine whose spirit still overshadows many modern bikes. Its 700cc air-cooled, 90-degree V-twin delivered 50 horsepower and speeds beyond 106 miles per hour, an impressive figure then and still respectable now. What truly set the V7 apart was innovation. The transverse V-twin with shaft drive was unlike anything else, offering smoothness, durability, and unmistakable character. Its long, low stance and confident handling made it adaptable, serving as a police mount, a touring companion, or even a racing platform. Originally priced near $1,439, surviving examples today fetch $6,000 to nearly $10,000. With timeless styling, Italian craftsmanship, and mechanical honesty, the V7 remains a motorcycle of enduring brilliance. But on the other side of the spectrum, riders were beginning to crave speed that came cheap, simple, and loud. That's when Suzuki dropped a twin that earned its name honestly, a Titan with two-stroke bite. At number 7, Suzuki T500 Titan. The 1968 Suzuki T500 Titan carved its own place in history as a two-stroke twin that punched far above its class. Its 492 cubic centimeter motor produced nearly 47 horsepower and surprising torque, pushing the bike to about 115 miles per hour. Lightweight and agile, the Titan delivered the speed of a racer, yet the durability of a daily ride. Suzuki's oil injection system made ownership easier, reducing the fuss of constant mix ratios, while its stable chassis earned respect from critics who compared it favorably to British rivals. Priced under $900 when new, the Titan was a bargain then and still represents value today, with surviving examples selling between $1,400 and $3,000. Its mechanical honesty and eager performance prove that simplicity can outshine many of today's over-engineered machines. The Titan showed Suzuki could wring big performance out of a two-stroke twin without asking much from its rider. But Honda wasn't interested in smoke and noise. They wanted precision, polish, and a machine that could change how the world saw Japanese motorcycles. That's when their Black Bomber roared onto the scene, a parallel twin that proved Honda was ready to play in the big leagues. Number 6. Honda CB 450 Black Bomber. Honda shook the motorcycle world in 1965 with the CB 450 Black Bomber, a machine so advanced it made many rivals look obsolete overnight. This was the first mass-produced bike with a double overhead cam parallel twin, displacing 444 cubic centimeters and producing about 43 horsepower at a screaming 8,500 RPM. Cycle World clocked it at just over 100 miles per hour, blistering for the mid-60s and still quick compared to today's middleweights. At roughly 430 pounds, it was nimble yet solid, with electric start, constant velocity carbs, and Honda reliability baked in. Against heavier British twins, it offered sharper tech and smoother performance. Originally sold for about $1,000, surviving Black Bombers now fetch anywhere from $3 to $20 grand, proof of their lasting impact. The Black Bomber proved Japan could leapfrog the old guard with engineering so sharp it felt a decade ahead. But across the ocean, some riders weren't chasing sophistication. They wanted brute strength and a broad-shouldered motor that pulled like a freight train. That's exactly what Royal Enfield delivered with their Big Twin, a machine that made displacement its calling card. Kicking up dust at number 5, Royal Enfield Interceptor 750. You might think 60s bikes are all charm and no bite, but the Royal Enfield Interceptor 750 laughs in the face of that idea. Launched in 1962, its 736 cubic centimeter parallel twin made around 52.5 horsepower, rocketing to 120 miles per hour in a quarter mile in just under 14 seconds, still respectable by today's benchmarks. Tipping the scales at about 414 pounds, it offered low-end torque and surprisingly nimble handling for such a hefty machine. What really sealed its performance legacy was the dynamically balanced engine, smashing vibration, a rarity in its day. Clean examples from that ERA when maintained are true road dominators and legends in their own right, with performance and presence that still embarrass many new bikes chasing flash without substance. But not every rider wanted a straight-line brawler. Some craved sophistication, handling, and a motorcycle that could carve curves as gracefully as it stormed highways. That's where Norton stepped in with the Commando, a machine that redefined how smooth and composed a big twin could feel. Number 4, Norton Commando. When riders talk about 60s machines that still dominate, the Norton Commando always makes the short list. Introduced in 1967, it carried a 745 cubic centimeter parallel twin, later expanded to 828, that pushed nearly 58 horsepower and a top speed of about 115 miles per hour. But the Commando's secret weapon was its innovative isoelastic frame system, which isolated engine vibration while keeping the handling sharp, something rival British twins never mastered. The Commando didn't just look good on paper. It was crowned Machine of the Year 5 years running, cementing its reputation as the first true production superbike. Even today, restored examples command values from roughly $6,000 to $15,000. Proof that this British legend still humbles many modern bikes in both performance and soul. But the late 60s weren't just about big iron and top-speed bragging rights. A whole new wave of riders wanted something approachable, affordable, and easy to live with, without giving up style or spirit. Honda listened, and their answer was a 350 that didn't just sell in staggering numbers, it reshaped motorcycling itself. Fueling the fire at number 3, Honda CB 350. The Honda CB 350 wasn't just another 60s twin, it was the motorcycle that showed the world how fast, reliable, and affordable a middleweight could be. With a 325 cubic centimeter air-cooled parallel twin, overhead cam, and dual carbs, it spun up over 33 horsepower and screamed past 10,000 RPM. That meant quarter miles in the 14-second range and top speeds around 110 miles per hour. Serious pace for a bike weighing only about 346 pounds. Yet it wasn't just performance. The CB 350 earned a reputation for bulletproof reliability, frugal fuel use, and easy upkeep. No wonder Honda sold over 300,000 of them. Today, clean survivors still go for $3 to $5 grand, timeless proof that light, simple, and dependable will always win. The CB 350 proved you didn't need deep pockets or a massive motor to have speed, dependability, and fun wrapped into one. But for riders chasing style and raw charisma, there was another machine from across the Atlantic that carried a different kind of magic. It wasn't about volume sales or quiet efficiency, it was about presence, sound, and attitude. And no bike captured that better than Triumph's Bonneville. At number 2, Triumph Bonneville T120. Few motorcycles define the 60s like the Triumph Bonneville T120. Born from racing and refined for the street, it carried a 649 cubic centimeter parallel twin, making roughly 46 horsepower through a slick 4-speed box. That gave it the punch to win big, including the production Isle of Man TT in 1967 and 1969. Malcolm Uphill even averaged 100 miles per hour around the mountain course on a stock Bonnie, the first production bike to do so. That kind of pedigree still commands respect today. The legacy lives on. The modern T120 carries a 1200 engine with nearly 80 horsepower, Brembo brakes, ABS, traction control, and cruise. But the silhouette and that unmistakable exhaust note still echo the 60s original. Classic Bonnies from the 60s now trade between $10,000 and $15,000, while new models sit in the same ballpark, proof of timeless value. The Bonneville was the British icon, fast, stylish, and dripping with character. But in 1969, the ground shifted. A machine rolled out of Japan that didn't just compete with the old guard, it buried them. Bigger, smoother, faster, and more advanced than anything on the road. It wasn't evolution, it was revolution. And it carried 2 letters and 3 numbers every rider still knows today. Claiming the throne at number 1, Honda CB750. The Honda CB750 is the motorcycle that redefined everything. Launched in 1969, it's often called the world's first true superbike, and for good reason. Under the tank sat a transverse inline 4 producing about 67 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque, numbers that pushed it to 120 miles per hour, staggering for its time. A 5-speed gearbox and front disc brake, the first ever on a production bike, made it handle and stop like nothing else on the road. Quarter miles in the mid-13-second range proved this wasn't just a cruiser, it was a rocket that ordinary riders could actually afford. At roughly $1,495 new, Honda delivered race-bred engineering to the masses, and in the process rewrote what a motorcycle could be. The CB750's influence is everywhere. Multi-cylinder engines, better brakes, stronger frames, all traced back to this machine. Vintage examples now trade between $10,000 and $25,000, prized by collectors worldwide. And in 2025, Honda honored the name with the CB750 Hornet, packing over 90 horsepower and modern tech for around $8 grand. The verdict is simple. The CB750 didn't just compete, it obliterated. It remains the most important motorcycle of the 60s, a legend whose shadow still stretches across every modern bike built today. Those were 15 motorcycles that prove the 60s still have something to teach us. If you want to keep riding down the road of legends, click the video on screen now, and don't forget to subscribe to stay in the loop for every story, every machine, and every ride we bring to life.